Hello, everybody. It was a great tour. It was around Queensland. I do a show called Play School, and it's a fantastic program. It was funny because I was on a talent show singing in Australia called New Faces, and I did that for Channel 10 years before, well, only a couple of years before actually. And then the producers approached me for an audition, approached my agent, and so I was very lucky that they asked me to audition. And I did five shows, 5 episodes, and then they asked me back to do the rest of it. Well, the Jodie part was actually a rapper. She started off doing rapping, um, and then they moved more into me singing as we progressed. So, um, yeah, she wasn't, I don't know what they had in mind for her in the beginning, but she was certainly a performer. Well, there's lots of stories. I guess the most fantastic time was when we were in the schoolyard and I had to walk out with I had a stereo in my arms and I had to go out and sing a rap to everybody about the school, and that was quite big because it was practically my first scene, and there I was sort of standing in the schoolyard getting everyone to sing along. So it was a big thing. I loved being at the school. I loved the people that were on the show. I thought it was a really great cutting edge show to work on, so we were very lucky. I mean, there are so many really wonderful memories of Heartbreak High, just because it was such a great show. So, well, I lived in Sydney. I lived not so far from the set, and I drive to work every day to Heartbreak High. Other people, I guess, were living in people who were coming from Melbourne or other places would have had to find somewhere nearby to live, but I lived in the city. Well, I remember doing a television show in I think it was in Germany one day called Wetten das, and I remember the audience was quite big, and then I had a headset, headphones in my ears with the questions in English, and I was answering the questions in English, but then over the top on the loudspeaker in the audience it was coming back in German, and the questions were being asked in German. So that was a bit full on. And I guess, yeah, I mean, I've been lucky to have some wonderful people come up to me at music gigs and so forth and say, that they really enjoyed the show. So yeah. I'm very, very good friends with Corey, who played Steve. I'm very good friends with Vince, who played Matt later on in the series. And I do get along very well with Alex. I don't see him much, but I mean, everybody speaks to people on the occasion. It's good. We all like. I mean, you bump into people along the way. Scott Major, I see a little bit of. Well, I think so. It's funny because I've done television series since, and it always seems to be roles that reflect where I'm at in my life at that time. So Jodie, while I was doing Heartbreak High, she was doing her singing, and she was interested in, she had well, obviously in a relationship and all that, but she was a warm character. She was very, she was a lot of fun to play. Actually, I really enjoyed playing the character. But yeah, I think we had similarities. I just don't know what they were. I left the series. I chose to leave the series, but it was after a lot of chat. Like, I mean, it was definitely something that it was okay, because I'd done a lot of the shows by then, and I was ready to focus on my music at that time, and I got a lot of support from the producers with my music. Ben Gannon was a fantastic, and he's rest in peace now. He was a fantastic and very inspiring producer, and he was also very kind to me musically. I wrote some of the songs with Todd Hunter. Some of the songs Todd Hunter gave me to sing. Some of the songs came from other places. So they kind of came, and some were written, I guess, and some weren't. It was more I think it was a real organic process with the music. I mean, Todd Hunter's a very, very good songwriter, and Joan Piggott was doing the vocals a lot of the time as well. So it just depended, I guess. I know that Outside These Walls, the song, Todd wrote that. I think he wrote it for the series, so it was interesting. Oh, it was funny, and I mean, it's the same now. I guess, in a sense, having the opportunity to sing on the show was a big, and a very good opportunity for me. But also, composing was one of those things that I loved doing, and so I was lucky to combine the acting with the music. I think it was the characters were very authentic. I think people could relate to the characters. Um, Universally, I think the storylines worked because they reflected a good, gauged, in my opinion, that generation quite well. I think it just, the scenery, the fact that it was shot on film, the fact that it was shot with the backdrop of beautiful Maroubra Beach, and I think there was a bit of everything in there. Yes, I was put into, we went on a promotion trip to Europe, and then to the UK. It was a very short trip, but we were doing interview after interview, and I'd never really put myself into a position where I was doing so much of that stuff before. It did it was brilliant, the way that the show was received. I guess being in that age and having that situation happen with Heartbreak High, it's not until you look back on it you realise just what it was all about. Because when you're caught up in something, sometimes it's hard to really get a perspective of where you're at. Oh, I absolutely love. I mean, the Baby Animals were on the soundtrack, and they were one of my favourite bands. Susie DeMarchi's an amazing vocalist, and There were people like Connie, who now sings for the Sneaky Sound System, who did some vocal work on the album. Todd in himself is a fantastic artist. Yeah, I think that there were a lot of great artists on the show. I think it'd be really interesting to see what it would be like, actually. I mean, the show was such a big and very well-loved show for a lot of people. And, it's nice to actually see people grow up and see what they end up as or what their interests are, because people do change and people, like if you took every individual character from Heartbreak High, I mean, that's a whole lifetime of someone's growth. I did a show called Secret Life of Us, which was based around the age of 20-somethings in down in Melbourne, and that was a sort of, cool, flat friends sharing houses and all that sort of thing, and that was great. It would have been interesting to see that happen, yeah. I guess there's so much more technology now, and I think that the way that people interact is very different. The way that computers have kind of put people into different perspectives with friends, and I mean all the internet chat sites and all that sort of thing, and being able to communicate with someone like we are now. You just, I guess it's different, but then there's a lot of similarity as well. I mean, friends are friends, and ages are ages, I guess. I think it's, I mean, I love seeing people. I love being around people. I love talking on the telephone to friends. Um, I think anything that's to do with communication is good. It just depends on what way they're used and how they're put to use. So I think on a case-by-case basis, you'd probably want to look at the individual use of each of those things. Well, I'd like it to be. I mean, I've had a lot of nice people feedback on the music from France, and I'm very much into doing live music, so I'd like to tour possibly next year now, to do some promotion for the album, and also to do some festivals maybe next year. So I guess I'd like to have it released in France, yes. Oh, I'd love to come and perform in France, and I think it's quite possible that hopefully I will next year. I love Paris, and I've been to Avignon and a few different places in France, and I do really, really love it. So I'd like to see more, but obviously I'd like to do it as a music tour. I'd like to do it with music. That'd be hilarious. It's funny actually, because on 1 December Moon there is a duet with a friend of mine. I do love duets, and I think male female duets are so beautiful. I guess because you get I like just hearing voices. Voices are so special. It was fascinating. It's interesting too, because I guess with Heartbreak High, um, being on the soundtrack, and doing the video clip for the show, and then having the EP that I did for the show released, which was just before, well, well before my first album, but that was exciting. I think it's amazing feeling when it's more about the fact that when you finish an album and how it feels to actually say, wow, this is the mixed version of it. I think the song that I wrote when I was out in the desert, it's a song called Hey You, and it's just guitar and vocal. It's actually on my website, but I wrote that about just complete feeling of, you know, I was not quite knowing where I was at the time, and so that song sort of was my most, I guess, the one that's closest to me. Yes. It depends. Sometimes it's usually a melody first, but it depends whether I think of something or see something. I mean, it's a very organic process writing a song, and I love the whole thing about the different ways you can come up with something. I did a song, a composed song with a guy called Brett Applin, who's a composer here. We did a song for a film called Surviving Georgia, which is about to come out, or soon to. And he's a pianist, so I only wrote the words and melody for that portion of the melody, and he wrote the music and played around with the melody with me, and that was a really interesting way of working. They change every day. I guess I really love soundtrack music. I love things that are that make you feel like you have a visual image in mind. You might be traveling, the feeling of traveling and the sound of being on a train. That sort of sound when you hear a backing to a film scene or something like that. But I also love bands, and I many different styles of music are my influences. Well, at the moment, I'm doing Play School, which is with the ABC, Australian Broadcasting Corporation, and that's a show that's been a TV series which has been going for 40 odd years. It's a kids show, and it's very well loved here in Australia. I've been doing lots of. I toured last year with Melanie, who's an amazing singer-songwriter who played at Woodstock many moons ago, and she's a phenomenal artist. And we went all around Germany, and that was such a brilliant tour. I got to perform with her son Bo Jared, so that was a really exciting tour. And just generally touring around Australia with the music, I think you need to road test or try the songs out on the road, so that's always a good thing. Secret Life of Us, the producer had some material already in the show that they wanted me to sing. McLeod's Daughters, I showed them a song and they accepted it as part of the soundtrack. The movie Angst, I wrote one of the tracks. I think the producer might have approached me. I'm pretty sure that's what happened. I'm just trying to remember. And with, obviously Heartbreak, that was the other thing. And so when I've done guest vocals for bands and things, they often approach me. So it just depends, really. I think that with acting and music, the similarities are the storytelling. It's about telling a story and trying to give people a picture or how you feel, maybe give them a feeling. So it's all very, very similar to it's because it's very subjective. It's about trying to stimulate or offer something to someone. Music I've spent a lot of time on, and I've loved. And when I'm not acting, I'm always making music. So it's been a process. I actually really like exploring music, different sounds and so forth. And I think that's also the case with acting. I think it's good to explore characters and really find out what you're looking for in something. So, yeah, I guess it's both really. They're both very similar. I did a play in London, which was very good. That went to Edinburgh Festival. That was called Breakfast with Johnny Wilkinson. I did a lot of plays as a child when I started acting when I was 9. So I did a lot of amateur theatre and I find that, interestingly, that sort of stuff when you're young, like 9, 10, 12, getting into theatre groups on the weekend and stuff like that that was really good for me. It really encouraged me to explore, explore things like internal feelings, and it also led me to be involved with different groups of people, which was very exciting. Yeah, but now I've forgotten the question. Oh, yes, yes, definitely. I mean, I think what I want to do with this next record, the album, when I take it on tour, it will be as part of a live show. It's going to be it's going to be all about the music, I think. So it'd be nice to do it with characters in mind anyway. Play School, which is the kids TV show, which is really great. So that's my main focus at the moment. That takes up a lot of time, and then writing the album is taking up the other portion at the moment. Oh, well, like I enjoyed doing McLeod's. I really loved that series because it was out in the open and out in the fresh air, and working around the animals and all that sort of thing was fantastic. Um, I like I, TV series I like, I guess, um, you know, I love funny things and I love animation. Um, I don't know, I guess I don't, I don't, I don't know how to answer that one. I guess there's been some great TV series that I've loved in the past, but it just depends on where you're at, because I've worked on a few of them. But, oh, absolutely. I mean, I really loved certain bands. I was a big, I really loved music makers. And also, yeah, I guess I've really admired certain people that have made, um, music in time. I'm trying to think of. I loved Madonna. I still love Madonna. I think she's amazing. But there's lots of people that I really admire in the music and acting world. I guess. Uh, I guess. I mean, I couldn't probably tell you who I love because the list is so long. I really enjoy certain artists. Mm. I love things like Donnie Darko. I like, you know, I like things that have got magic and mystery, and they're a little bit fantastic. Fantasy elements come through. You know, I guess that's just in my nature, really. I love things that aren't quite easy to explain. Well, I just want to say thank you. Thanks for having me online, and looking forward to the next time, I guess, when something happens in life where we're in front of each other, or I don't know. It's hard to say things to people. Hello. That's all I can say, really. Thank you so much.
We like autumn leaves, now the winter will let go, and here upon the wind will be where we are blown. 'Cause life is unclear, and more unknown is what's beyond. But I wish you were here to have and to hold. 'Cause sometimes it's hard to trust when all that you love you gotta let go. A heart can hurt so much. Now all you got is love, so let go.